All right, so this is where we left off. So now let's see how these steps translate into actual problems. Okay, so this first one says fully factor the following polynomial. So first of all, in the future, factor is just going to be a direction. Okay, so factor is going to be a word that you need to know how to do. And factor means break it into its pieces by finding those two numbers that multiply to C and add to B. So step one is that I need to find my GCF and pull it out. So I'm going to make my tree for 4 because that's my smallest coefficient. And I have 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. And then I want to see if 4 works because that's the biggest number. So I obviously know 4 can be divided by 4. But then 40 divided by 4, that works. That's 10. And then 96 divided by 4, that works as well. That's 24. Okay, so I know that 4 is going to be my GCF. But then remember, if my leading coefficient is negative, my GCF also has to be negative. So I'm going to pull out a negative 4. And then I'm going to go through my x's. So I have 10 here, 9 here, and 8 here. So I can pull out 8 x's. So I'm going to have x to the 8th. And now I'm going to write what's left by dividing each term by the GCF. So I have negative 4 divided by negative 4 to give me a positive 1. I can write that or not write that. It's up to you. Then I have 10 x's and I'm taking away 8, so I have 2 x's left. Then I have negative 40 divided by negative 4. That gives me a positive 10. I have 9 x's. I'm taking 8 away, so I'm left with just 1 x. And then 96 divided by negative 4 gives me a negative 24. And I have 8 x's. I'm taking 8 away, so I am done. Okay, so now comes the actual factoring part. So we are looking at just inside parentheses right now. And our next step is to label a, b, and c. And so a comes before x squared, so that's just that 1. B comes before x, so that's 10. And then c comes at the end, it's the constant, so that's negative 24. So now I'm going to use these and I'm going to fill in a t-chart with these values. So you're going to draw a little t-chart off to the side. And we want to find things that multiply to C and add to B. So our C value over here is negative 24. Make sure you bring the negative with it. So I want to find things that multiply to negative 24. Then our B value is positive 10. So I want to find things that add to positive 10. So now we're always going to do the left side first. And we are going to go through and make a list of everything that multiplies to negative 24. It's almost the same process as our factor trees, but with factor trees, you didn't care if it was positive or negative, and now you definitely do. So I have to think about what numbers could multiply to negative 24. Well, if I'm multiplying to a negative number, I want you to make a little note about this. If we're multiplying to a negative number, then we need to have one number positive and one number negative. If we're multiplying to a negative number, they can't both be positive because a positive times a positive is a positive. And they can't both be negative because a negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm going to make my list. So I'm going to do 24 divided by 1. Well, I know that that is 24, but I need to make the list where 1 is positive and 1 is negative. So I have 2 options. I have the one where 1 is positive, so it's positive 1. Oops. It's positive 1. negative 24. But then I also have the option where 1 is negative, so negative 1 and positive 24. And they do matter, so you have to write both versions. And I'm going to do this for all my factors. So then 24 divided by 2 is 12. So I have it where it's positive 2 and negative 12, but then also negative 2 and positive 12. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So I have positive 3, negative 8, and then negative 3, positive 8. And then 24 divided by 4 is 6. So I have positive 4, negative 6, and negative 4, positive 6. And this is all of my factors. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to make the list of, or I'm going to go through my list of numbers that I just made, and I'm going to see what they add to, because I'm trying to find the two numbers that multiply to 24 or negative 24, but they also have to add to positive 10. So I'm going to go through and add all these. So 1 plus negative 24 gives me negative 23. Well, that's not 10, so that's not what I want. Then negative 1 plus positive 24 is positive 23. Well, that's not what I want either. 2 plus negative 12 is negative 10, which is almost what I want, but not quite. And then negative 2 plus positive 12 is positive 10, which is exactly what I want. So you're going to draw an arrow to this row. That's the row I care about. I don't even have to finish this T-chart because no other number is going, like no other pair of numbers is going to add to positive 10. So I'm safe stopping here. I would say just be very careful with negatives because a lot of people think that, oh, well, 4 and 6 add to 10. That's true, but one of these is negative in both these cases. So like this one would be negative 2 and this one adds to positive 2. So that's not 10. So now this row, I care about these two numbers. Those are the two numbers that multiply to negative 24 and also add to 10. So my next step is just writing it in the way that I want it. So it's in that form that that was the last step. So my GCF just comes down. We don't do anything with that. It stays out front. But now I'm going to change this into its factors, which means I'm going to start with parentheses, and I'm going to have two sets. And you start with x, and then you're going to have a plus or minus depending on the sign of one of these numbers. It doesn't matter which one comes first. So this one is minus 2, so I'm going to do x minus 2. That's one of the factors. And the other factor is positive 12, so I'm going to do x plus 12. And this is our answer. If you wanted to check this, you could just do the distributive property or box method, multiply this all back out, and you should get this original polynomial. Okay, so to kind of alleviate the you try situation, since I'm not there to check your work or help you, I'm going to go through this next you try. If you feel pretty confident that you can do it, you can try it on your own while I'm doing it. But if you don't feel very confident, here's another example. So first step, remember, is to find our GCF. So I'm going to go through and make my tree for 3, which is nice because it's just 1 and 3. And then I'm going to see, okay, 3 can definitely be divided by 3. Can 21 be divided by 3? Yes. Can 18 be divided by 3? Yes. So 3 is part of our GCF. Then I'm going to look at the W's. So I have 2 W's at the first one, 1 W in the second one, and no W's in the third. So I can't take any W's out. But now I'm going to look at the V's, and I have 3 V's here, 3 V's in the second, and 3 V's in the third. So I can pull out all 3. So now I'm going to write what's left when I divide that out. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. W squared just comes down because I'm not taking any W's away from it. And then I have 3 V's and I'm taking 3 away, so there's no V's left. Then I have 21 divided by 3, which gives me 7. I have a W, I'm taking none of them away, so I still have W. And then I have 3 V's, I'm taking 3 away, and so I have none of those left. And last term I have 18 divided by 3, which gives me 6. And I have 3 v's, I'm taking 3 away, so I have none left. So now I'm going to label A, B, and C. And so A is out front, B is in the middle, C is at the end. And then I'm going to use those to build my t-chart with. So I want to find things that multiply to C. Well, my C value is positive 6. And so I want to multiply to positive 6. And then I want to add to my B value. So I'm going to add to positive 7. And so I'm going to make my list of factors. And one thing to note about, since this is positive, my options are my numbers have to either both be positive or both be negative. So you can have 1 and 6, but then also -1 and -6, and then 2 and 3, and also -2 and -3. And so now I'm going to go through and actually add up these numbers. So 1 plus 6 gives me 7, and right away that's what I want. So I don't have to do any other steps with this table. So those are my factors, and I just want to write it in factored form. So I have 3v to the third out front. Then I have w plus 1, and I'm using a w because there's no x's in this. I mean, you have to use the variable that's given. And then the other factor is w plus 6. And that's my answer. All right, so now I just have one more thing to show you guys. I'm not going to go through a whole problem, but I just want to show you like what the process is for that one. So on the next page, maybe not the next page. Oh, no, right below. There's another way to kind of look at this. So if you look at the next example, it says below are equivalent expressions. Fill in the blanks with the appropriate factors. Really all that means is like do the same process, but then put them inside these blanks. And so I want to kind of label these. So in this order, we know what needs to come first and second and third. And so the first thing always needs to be the GCF. So once you pull out the GCF, that goes in the first part. Then it actually gives us one of the factors, which makes our life a little bit easier. It tells us that one of the factors is -7. So we need to figure out like what can be multiplied by -7 to give me whatever the simplified version of this is. And then over here is just the other factor. And so once you do, you can do the whole process start to finish, and then just fill things in here. And so whatever the other factor is, the one that goes with -7 will go in this spot. So that's the only additional thing that this is, but this is a test question. You have to know how to fill in those pieces, and knowing that the GCF has to come first, and then it doesn't matter what order these factors are in, but it already tells you one, so you just have to fill in the other one. Okay, so at this point we went through all of the process of factoring, which is really cool because it's one of my favorite learning targets. And so you're going to get to practice a lot now. So pretty much the rest of the class is going to be practice time. If you get stuck, you watch this video again. There's going to be a key on my desk for the practice, and you need to make sure that if you have questions that can't be answered, write them down, come to tutoring, and I can help you out. Thanks, guys. Good luck on your practice.